This video is beginner friendly, but if you know your way around a makeup brush, you could take these tips too. So I'm sharing with you guys my top 5 required steps of your makeup routine. The first step that I recommend is to prep and prime your face. If you did not check out last week's video, make sure you check it out. I shared with you guys the steps that you need to do before you start your makeup. So I've already done my skincare. I am going to prime today with my e.l.f. Power Grip Primer. I will be putting the price of these products on the screen and totaling it up at the end so you know how much this routine will cost you. I'll also mention what brushes that I use, and then of course all of the brushes, because we are doing our beginner friendly tutorial today, are going to be drugstore products. So it's going to save you some money, but ultimately get you the flawless face that you desire. One of my favorite things about this primer is that it is great for combination skin. If you don't know your skin type, like, try this one out. There are other primers for oily or for dry skin, but this is a great primer that I feel works well for most people. So this is a great starting point. It also has like a tacky finish, so you know your makeup is gonna last all day because it has a nice prepped and primed surface to stick to, okay? Number 2, I feel like your brows is a required step. Your brows shape your face and they really set the framework for what your makeup's gonna look like. First, I'm using NYX the brow glue. I like using the clear one. I brush my brow hairs back and forth just to make sure I'm coating all of my brow hairs, and then I brush them in the direction that I want them to go, which is going to be upwards and out towards my tail. Sometimes I like to take just a flat item and I just use the packaging of this and flatten my brow hairs down, because this really gives you that like laminated brow look. Okay, so once your brow glue pretty much dries down, then I'm gonna go in with the e.l.f. This is the Ultra Precise Brow Pencil, and I like this pencil because I can create like hair-like strokes. So I'm just gonna fill in. I do have an updated brow tutorial. I can just click right up here and check out that video. So once you fill in your brows, I like to go ahead and clean up the brows, and we are taking my e.l.f. 16-Hour Camo Concealer. And as you can see, I am trying to get the last little bit of out of here before I open a new one. My brush of choice to do this is my Morphe M224 brush, and this is just a concealer brush. Gonna apply just a little bit from the doe foot and carve out brows. Now a little bit does go a long way. You don't have to put a whole bunch of concealer to clean up your brows. The less concealer you use, the easier it is to like blend it out. And the reason why we clean up the brows is to make it look like we have freshly waxed or freshly threaded brows. So that's why you kind of make it a lighter shade up underneath. Now you can go in with that same concealer on top of your brows, or you can go in with your foundation shade, and that's what I'm gonna do. I'll share with you guys the foundation I'm using in just a second, but I'm just taking that foundation shade and carving out the top. Now to blend this out, I'm taking my medium shadow brush from Real Techniques Everyday Eye Essentials brush set, and I'm taking that to just blend out the concealer. Alright, so when I cleaned up my brows, that led into the third required step that I recommend in your makeup routine, and that is to conceal and cover. So we're concealing around the brows and covering up any stray hairs that we have, but we're also going to use that same step for our face. So we're going to conceal our dark marks, conceal our under eye bags, we're going to conceal any blemishes, and we're also going to cover our face. So foundation is optional depending on your skin type, the look you're going for, all those kind of things. Today we are going to use foundation to cover up and make the skin more even toned, and then we're going to use our concealer to conceal and bring life back to certain areas, add dimension back to the face. So for foundation, I am taking my tried and true Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless foundation, and this is in the shade 340 Cappuccino. Now I will provide another option for you for foundation. The matte and poreless is great for people who may have oily skin or normal combination skin. If you have dry skin and you need a more glowy, dewy foundation, I would recommend the NYX Born to Glow. My shade is Sienna, and this is a naturally radiant foundation. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my Maybelline Fit Me foundation, using that same concealer brush to just apply the product to my face. And I'm pretty much applying foundation everywhere except for directly under my eyes, because we're gonna place concealer there. And really, you don't need foundation on your forehead, but I just added some today because we won't be doing any bronzing. So to blend out the foundation, today we're using the Real Techniques Expert Face Brush. And this brush is really good for blending out your foundation. And it's also affordable. This comes in the Everyday Essentials brush set from Real Techniques. So I am just pressing, like stamping, like buffing it in. I don't like swiping it because I feel like that leaves streaks. I like pressing it and just buffing it into the skin. And you always want to start off with the less is more mentality, because you can always build it up or add more, but once you put it on, it's harder to take off. So I would recommend just using a little by little, going little by little, and then building it up. Start off with one pump and then go from there. All right, so this is what my face looks like with the Maybelline Fit Me foundation on. So now that we've covered our face, we're gonna go ahead and conceal. So I'm gonna take that e.l.f. 16-hour camo concealer and conceal under my eyes. And again, less is more, so I'm just doing a dot in the inner corner and dot out here, just a little bit on my chin, little on my forehead, and then we'll just do a little on the nose. I like to use that same Expert face brush for my chin and my forehead because it helps blend it into the foundation nice and seamlessly. Now for the under eye area, I'm gonna take that same medium shadow brush and start blending out my concealer. I feel like brushes help concentrate your product in a certain area, and it gives you more coverage versus a sponge, because the sponge is a sponge, so it is going to absorb some of your product more so than the brush bristles will. And then the sponge kind of spreads out your product, and it's easier to lose control of where you're trying to place your concealer when you blend out with a sponge. But I use both. So if you get the Everyday Essentials brush set from Real Techniques, it does come with the Real Techniques sponge, and it looks like this. I need to clean mine, but you can use that to blend out your concealer as well. And your sponges are something that you need to clean, just like you need to clean your brushes. Another rule of thumb that I'm just thinking of as I'm chatting with you guys through this, I like to place my product first and then blend it out versus dumping foundation on my sponge and just wiping it on. All right, so we are halfway there. The fourth step that I recommend for your makeup routine is to set your face. So if you wet it, you gotta set it. So if you have a liquid foundation or liquid concealer, like, you want to set those things with a powder. But also we're gonna chat about setting spray as well. So today's setting powder of choice is gonna be our e.l.f. matte setting powder. I'm going to take my Real Techniques setting brush, and I'm gonna use this to set my concealer with that setting powder. And I just tap a little in the lid, tap in it, and then tap off that excess, and then gently pat it in up under the eye. And I basically pat this in like a triangle format up under my eye. And you want to make sure you blended out all of the creases in your concealer before you set it with powder. And again, I'm just putting enough to mattify up under the eyes, and then if you want to go the extra mile and matte in everywhere you put that concealer. And sometimes I do like to add a little bit of the setting powder around my mouth, because that's usually where my makeup starts to separate first, because you know, you be talking, you be smiling, you be eating, and essentially when you think about it, like, everywhere you setting with your setting powder is typically gonna be in the shape of like a skull. Because if you think about it, a skull shows you like the highlights of the face, the high points of the face, and the low points of the face. So that's a way you can think of it. Because I wanted to try and keep this video at about 10 products, we're not gonna necessarily bronze today, but we are gonna set the rest of our face with a pressed powder. This is gonna be the Maybelline Super Stay. This is their hybrid powder foundation, and this is the shade 340. And I am going to take the blush brush from the Real Techniques Essentials brush set. And I know it says blush brush is great for blush, yes, but it's also a great just powder brush in general. So I'm just gonna use that to set the areas that I did not put the setting powder. Setting your entire face with powder after you apply a liquid is how you help your makeup stay and last all day. So I'm also using this to just dust off any excess powder that may be on my face. And you can also use like your face powder. Typically this would be bronzer that I would go in with, and to kind of contour your nose a little bit. Normally I would use a bronzer to do this. I'm also gonna put just a tad on my lid. Now, as you can see, we're coming to form. We're almost done. The last form of setting is setting spray. And you might be like, well girl, why couldn't I just set the liquid stuff with a setting spray? And that's because if you wet it, you gotta set it. Like, you can spray like setting spray on top of like liquid foundation, but it's not gonna like really pack it in place. That's like if you had wet paint and then you sprayed, I don't know, like a gloss finisher on it. Like, that ain't gonna make it like stick and set in place. But if you threw some dust up on there or something, and then you use the spray to reactivate the moisture. At least that's how I think about it in my head. If I put my liquid foundation on, my liquid concealer, like, I'ma set it with some powder, make sure it don't move, set it in place. And then I'ma add back some moisture with my setting mist. And so this is the Morphe Continuous Setting Mist. It is a great setting spray. Now, I recommend mist over sprays because the sprays can sometimes leave like watermarks on your face, but a mist is a mist. So when you spray it, it just revitalize, reactivate all of the oils in your skin. So I feel like it just brings everything back to form. So after we set everything, the last and final step that I recommend is lips and lashes. Lashes, it's up to your expertise, up to your preference, whatever. So I'm gonna give you two options. Option one is to use a mascara. I recommend the e.l.f. Big Mood mascara. It's a great mascara to make your lashes look defined. Or you can apply some lashes, and the Ardell Demi Wispies are a great holy grail, old faithful. Okay, now I ain't gonna lie to you, I don't think I got no Ardell Demi Wispies on me, so I'm gonna just pick up these lashes. I'll try to find a link for them and put them in the description box, but they look just like Demi Wispies. Now, my personal preference is to get a brush on lash glue that is black and apply it like eyeliner. This lash glue is not from the drugstore, but it is affordable. It's from AOA Studio Shop Miss A. I will link similar lash tweezers from Amazon that I feel like help apply your lash. I always recommend looking downward into a mirror, applying the center of your lash, and then adjusting the corners. And then I give it a few seconds and then roll down the excess skin on my lid, and that helps cover up the glue. All right, so now that I have my lashes on, if you want to do your lower lash mascara, you can. And I'm just gonna take this e.l.f. Big Mood mascara, and I like going side to side or upwards when doing lower lash mascara to avoid getting it on the skin. All right, and then of course we got to do the lips. So for your lippy, you can find any affordable lippy that you like. If you like a matte look, if you like lipstick, if you like lip gloss. My favorite thing is hydrated lips, so I love a good lip gloss. One of my favorites is the NYX Butter Gloss. This one is in the shade Bit of Honey, and I feel like this is a great shade for skipping the lip liner step. Now if you want a dynamic lip, you can, and just get you a brown little lip color, but this one I feel is a great like natural pink, especially for people with brown skin. And this is what the shade looks like, and boom, that is the full look. So we did 10 products to achieve this full affordable natural face, and I share with you my top 5 steps that I recommend for you to include in your makeup routine. I want to know what's your favorite step in your makeup routine or your least favorite step. Comment below so I can read and find out what y'all's is. Make sure you give this video a huge thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and go ahead and subscribe. Make sure you check out my video from last week telling you what you should do before you get into doing your makeup. I love you guys so much, and y'all never forget, at the end of the day, without regrets, love yourself and be you, Tiffle. Bye y'all.
Yeah, Slim Reshae.